So you should be selfish. There is nothing wrong with selfishness. It's really, really good as long as you're nourished by the right self. It's kind of like, Plato's story of the horse. You have a white horse and you have a dark horse. You should keep both of them, but make sure that the white horse is sitting on the black horse or the dark horse and riding it. If the black horse represents passion and the white horse represents sobriety, wisdom, reflection, self-examination, always allow reflection to ride emotions, never passion. But since we are all novices in the walk of life, you need someone who is seasoned. You need to find a Socrates. You need someone who's been there. And one of the difficulties you'll encounter is once you find, kind of like when Malcolm X, after a while, got to know Elijah Muhammad somewhat well. One of the things that happened to all of us is that once you find the Socrates, once you find the Jesus, you want them to be infallible. You want them not to be human. Jesus doesn't eat, he doesn't pee, he doesn't have sexual dreams, he doesn't look for power, he's all spirit and no meat. And so not only does he have to carry the burden of wanting wisdom, having wisdom, and trying to impart this wisdom in a way that you and I can understand, he also has to carry the burden that us commoners place on his shoulder. Don't be human. Always remain reflective. Always remain a monk. Never have thoughts the way normal humans do. Don't seek money. Don't go after lust. Nothing. And the moment we find out that, Jesus has a savings account of 5 million and he tells the rest of us to be poor. That's not right, And so all of a sudden we walk away. There are lots of subtleties, in the way we look at teachers and the way we look at ourselves as students. But all in all, if you want to have the right self, someone needs to get rid of, initially, the first 10 years, someone needs to get rid of your physical self, that you want to go here, you want to go there, and wherever you place your body, that space is going to generate emotions inside you. And those emotions are going to tempt you, and you're going to pursue them. And then you're going to create a history with them. And that history is going to create an identity, meaning, purpose. So someone needs to walk in and just get rid of that for you. But, no one is an infant here. We're all over 30, which means that we have emotional relationship with our past, with life events. So what's going to happen is that's who and what we are. That's where identity is, our emotional past. And so someone also needs to come in and get rid of that. And you're going to put up a fight. It sounds great to find the Jesus Christ and follow him. Theoretically. Realistically, it's nearly impossible. Because he just says, follow me. If you follow Jesus, where is he going to take you? He's not going to tell you jokes. He's not going to say, let's sit and have a drink. It's always serious, 24/7. How much of that can you endure? That depends on your capacity. There is this great story about Saint Francis of Assisi. He had a student, and they were walking around town, I guess in Sicily, and they were trying to inspire people towards Jesus Christ. And so there is this window that's cracked open, and there is this woman baking bread, But she was showing some skin. And as Francis and his disciples are walking, Francis all of a sudden stops and looks at his disciple or his student and looks towards the direction of the student's gaze and says, oh, so he's looking at that. And something about Saint Francis becomes sad. He knows that he has a student who is not really ready to be monogamous, to only have a relationship with God. He wants flesh. So without, making him feel bad, he looks at the student and says, God has given us all different capacities. Some of us can only be with God. Some of us need to get married and be with God sometimes. If you think that you need to get married, have children, have a family, it's okay. And the disciple looks at him and says, yeah, absolutely. And he leaves. And they part ways. So there are lots of things to overcome before someone can actually go inside you, create inside you a pain that it doesn't matter where your physical body, emotional body, intellectual body, psychological body, wherever they roam, they're always going to be contaminated with this brokenness that lives inside your soul. That is what baptizes you. Nothing else can. But teachers have to go through a hell of a lot to break people in the right way and then to protect what they have broken. Because when you lose things, what happens? Well, you go through a grieving process. It's not easy to simply walk away from any relationship, And so they have to kind of support you through that solitary journey. And it's difficult. And the same is true with lust. Lust is good as long as it's directed towards the right thing. Now, how do you not get lost in academics? The best example I can give you is read the life of the Buddha. Not because he's better than Jesus or Muhammad or Moses, or maybe read the life of Moses if you're allergic to Buddhism. And what you have in both stories is that you have, a couple of men, Buddha and Moses, if they actually have historical accuracies. What they have in these two men is that they're very attractive. They have lots of power, lots of money. They have a great family. But something about them jumps out and says, this is not who you are. Now, of course, when you read the Old Testament or the New Testament or the life of the Buddha or Muhammad or Jesus, things are given to us in a very simplistic, childish way. That Jesus at the age of 12 said to his mom and dad, oh, you could have found me at my father's house. And then he leaves to the desert and doesn't, appear until the next 18 or so years. But the truth is, no one walks away from anything freely. There's a good amount of conflict. There is this inward battle that takes place. In the Islamic tradition, this inner battle is called Jihadul Akbar. It's not very difficult for me. If, for example, you were to look at me in a mean way or say some nasty things to me, I'll just come over there and just kick you or punch you in the face. I can get consumed by my ego that, I'm 60, Julian is 20, I have a PhD, I have power, I'm an instructor, I have this, I'm that. Who's Julian? Nobody. He insulted me, he offended me. So I'm not going to turn the other cheek, I'm just going to come there and kick your ass. So that's called Jihadul Asqar. It's a little battle. And little battles are those, it goes into different branches, but in this particular scenario, it's this little Amir who got offended by little Julian. So two little men are going to fight. Jihadul Akbar is this, you offend me, and now I have to kind of figure out, what do I want to do? Do I want to walk towards you? Do I want to forgive you? Do I want to put myself in your shoes and say to myself, what has caused Julian to say such things to me? And these are things that I have to go through inwardly, privately. It's in a very solitary way. Now, you have to ask yourself, okay, so the Buddha goes in the desert. What does he find? Nothing. He becomes religious, only to realize, but religion really doesn't give him much answers. It doesn't save him. It doesn't salvage his soul. It doesn't quench his thirst. He could have easily gone back to his wife, to his son, to his parents, to his culture, to his kingdom. But his longing was so great that he wasn't contaminated by lust, the lust of power, sex, okay? Parents, the love for your parents. He says no. So he begins to meditate. He begins to fast. And he comes to realize, well, these are wonderful tricks that people can play. You know, it's great for you to levitate and have all these people watching you. It gives you a tremendous amount of power, you know. But he says, no, I'm in the business of trying to figure out what their life is about. Why am I here? What am I doing? Why did I study philosophy? Why am I going to class? You know, you have this young man who is not really enrolled, or, none of us really are. We just come and sit. Why? Why? Well, there is something about us that's pushing us towards something, an unknown component. We don't know what it is. If I was to kind of transgress a little, this is Jamal. He takes my Tuesday, Thursday philosophy class. He's got nothing to do on Mondays and Wednesdays. What is he doing here? Well, the truth is something about him has been inspired. Maybe he likes my voice. Maybe he likes the little hair that I have. Maybe he likes the fact that I'm Persian. But I'm not that vain. I'm not going to kind of assume, those things that are profoundly superficial. I'm going to kind of say that something about him has been inspired. He doesn't know what it is. He feels himself to be like a paperclip, slowly being pulled by the magnet. But this is right now very, very easy and comfortable for him. Nothing is demanded of him. He just comes when he wants, leaves when he wants, once in a while emails, that's it. Now the question is, well, how do you protect that curiosity, that inspiration, so it can go to a certain part of him that will contaminate all the other desires that may live inside him? If you don't want to get lost in, say, academia, let's just say you want to do philosophy. And the word philosophy comes from two Greek words, philo and sophia, love and wisdom. We know what love looks like to some extent. I have no idea what wisdom looks like. I don't know what it feels like. I know what inspiration is. Okay? So ask yourself what happens when you fall in love. Now you want to fall in love with wisdom. And it's like falling in love with a girl. Let's just say you're heterosexual. You really, really love her. And every time you look at her and you want to say, I love you, she looks a little uninterested in you. So you refrain. And you go home and you say, is she thinking about me at all? Then you lose sleep. You can't eat. You're always angry. And that's the thing. You get really, really depressed. For your friends call, you don't want to hang out with them. You're in love with wisdom, but wisdom is playing hide and seek with you, like this girl. And if you truly want to be a good philosopher, you need to make sure that your love contains a good amount of intensity. You're on fire. And whatever it is that you're looking for, you can't get it. It's playing hide and seek. You can't find it in books. You can't find it in philosophy classes. Which means that you're always going to be a cynic. When someone says, Descartes was a good philosopher, you say, no, I've read his books. I don't think love smells like that. And I don't think wisdom smells like that. You want love and wisdom, you should watch the very ending of Braveheart. Where, what's his name, Wallace? Something Wallace. He's about to be executed. This woman goes to him and tries to give him the hemlock so he won't feel the pain too much. And he says, no, I need my wits about me. I need to be completely sober and aware. That I'm not going to be Judas. I chose this path and I'm going to see it through. The point is, right now you're a novice. You need someone to protect you, to carry you through this journey. And when you're broken in the right way, then they can leave you. Let me tell you one last story and then we'll go home. Yes, of course. About who? Gossip? Sure, yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Okay. Sure. I understand. So let's do it this way. Imagine you want to make some pasta. Okay. So what you do, you grab a pot, you put some water in it, you put it on the stove and temperature high, and you put the lid on it. And then after 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, of course, after having added some oil and some salt so that the pasta don't stick together, you realize that this water is boiling. Why is it boiling? Because it has suffered a good amount of pressure, a good amount of heat. Now, if you're a human being and you're living and quacking in social life, life imposes a good amount of pressure on all of us. You get sick, you get old, you have kids who are not doing the right things, you go to classes, your instructors are awful, you have to do busy work, you have a job you don't like. There are lots of things that life offers us that are unpleasant. And these are all heats that are imposed upon us. So some people have the capacity to do gossip for 5 minutes a day. Some people have the capacity to do no gossip at all. That they say, this is a burden for me. You know, life has given me these events. They're unpleasant. I have all these emotions inside me. I have all these thoughts, but I'm going to keep them to myself. This is my cross and I'm going to carry. I'm not going to burden them with anyone. So the way that I think your culture and my culture used to work is that you're having a very, very rough day. And let's say you didn't have any money to get some oil to make your room warm. So you have like 5 jackets on. You don't really have very much food. And all of a sudden there's a knock on your door and it's your parents. And you want to impress your parents. So you kind of slap your cheeks a little bit or you go like this to make them red. That you have the privilege of having enough money to generate heat for your house, so your body is warm. And even though you have nothing in your house, okay, you kind of look into the cupboards, into the fridge, and you say, you guys say, I'm going to make the best food. You're not going to talk about poverty. You're not going to talk about how mean life is. You're not going to talk about the fact that you have zero money and life is really, really bad. You say, my parents are old enough. They've gone through their own stuff. I'm not going to burden them with my life, okay? So you're only there for other people. Now, for us commoners, for us who are not really that trained, and for those of us who don't really have much capacity, gossip is actually a nice way to create bond with people. I go to Pete's Coffee, I see you, you see me and you realize that I have this facial expression. It looks somewhat sad or even angry. And you look at me and you say, now, I don't know you from Adam and you don't know me from Adam either. But now we begin our gossip. You say, hi. You say, hello. Again, in a very mean way. Can I buy you a cup of coffee? Absolutely, I say. We sit. How you doing? And I begin to gossip. Now, if it wasn't for you, maybe I would have gone home and committed suicide. Maybe the way this culture works, maybe I would have gone out and done mass shooting. But because of you and your capacity to have ears that are willing to hear my gossip, you have saved my life and possibly other people's. So in some ways, gossip is really, really good. So there are all these, when we talk about lust, we talk about gossip and all other things that we do in life, there's a hierarchy. Some people like Jesus, he doesn't really talk about his suffering. He wants to know how we are doing. He says, my life is my life. It doesn't concern you. I'm here for you. He can do that. I'm not him. So for someone like Jesus, he's self-sufficient. He doesn't need me. He doesn't need you. He doesn't need a community. His community is God, angels, himself. That's all he wants. Me and you are different. We need gossip. It glues us to other people. It strengthens our relationship with other people. There was a man by the name of G.I. Gurdjieff. Now, by the way, just because, some people can kind of hold their own ground and not talk about their life as much, what they're going through, it doesn't mean that we should aspire to be like them. There is this passage said to us or given to us by the Buddha. I don't know if he actually said it or not, but, find your own salvation. Just go slow, be mindful. Don't try to be like Jesus. Don't try to be like Moses. Don't try to be like Malcolm or Martin or whatever. Just try to figure out what your capacity is, where you exist in the great scheme of things, And once you realize your capacity, just be that. But we're living at a time of advertisement. Everybody's trying to tell us that we should be enlightened, we should be wise, we should do this, we should do that. And I don't think it's true. I mean, you're just burdening people unnecessarily. I love my daughter to play the piano, and she does. She's just not very good. And it's okay. I want her to be really, really good, to be focused, to have a love affair with the piano. Because I know what happens when you have a love affair with music. You sacrifice your time, your energy, a lot of things for about 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and now the world owes you. Eventually, you're going to be seen by someone, and they're going to say, Johnny Carson, I don't know if you remember the Tonight Show, there was an episode where they had a guest, and he was supposed to go and play the piano, but he got into a traffic jam. And so he said, we have this empty slot for about 15 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience who knows how to play the piano? And this kid raises his hand. And Johnny Carson looks at him, are you sure you play the piano? You're far too young. He says, no, I've been playing for a while. So come up, let's hear you play. He was so damn good. And then he gets booked. Las Vegas, Reno, year after year after year after year. He quit all of his jobs and he just became a pianist on the stage. And that's how things work, So, again, when we talk about gossip, for example, in one of the Eightfold Paths in Buddhism, I think it's like, thou shalt not gossip. But he's not telling that to my mom. He's not telling that to me. He's not telling that to Jameson. He's not telling that to you. He's got like a couple of very, very close students, sitting next to him. He looks at them and says, listen, inside you lives the Buddha seed. If you're able to protect this Buddha seed, the skin will crack. Wisdom will eventually come up. You will become self-sufficient. You will become mindful. You will become aware. You know, you will have a mind that's enlightened. But he was only saying it to those disciples. If everybody in Nepal or India were to follow that particular teaching, everybody would divorce. They would fight each other all the time because we're like this boiler system. You know, how much stress can you put your body and mind, emotions through before you explode? So gossip for 99.9% of us is a lifesaver.
I perhaps people say gossip is like a good thing. Talking about sports and blah blah blah. You know. So when we hear the word gossip, culture is
Sure.
is
Yeah.
a negative
Yeah.
thing. So that's what I was saying that I didn't necessarily. That's what I think of when you say gossip is negative. How about somebody, you know, making it up, you know, doesn't necessarily.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, some people talk about people that make themselves look big or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I see gossip, that word, I guess, as something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whereas the way that you're presenting it, talking about it, or, you know, something positive.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
sharing your wisdom, whatever. So that's what kind of triggers me. Negative, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it might be just culture, they things a little differently, but that's just the life.
There is a story in a book called Kimya Saadat, written by Muhammad Al-Ghazali. Kimya Saadat, Kimya means alchemy, Saadat means happiness. It's 2 volumes. It's a book that guides you towards happiness, supposedly. It didn't. I read the book a couple times. I'm still miserable. So it didn't make me happy. But there is a story that there was a Sufi teacher named Shebli. Shebli was a vegetarian, supposedly. And one day he has a dream, and he was sitting next to Junaid, another Sufi teacher. And Junaid has made him some kebabs, you know, like an In-N-Out burger. And Shebli says, oh, I can't eat, you know, meat. I'm a vegetarian. And Shebli says, no, you're not. No, I am. No, you're not, Junaid says. I really am a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian most of my life. He says, if you're a vegetarian, why is it that I saw you eating meat last night? I never ate meat last night. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. It says, I heard you gossip, say something nasty behind someone's back. Isn't it true? Yeah. Metaphorically, you were eating his meat. You were destroying him, his reputation, his life. So that's the sort of gossip that you're talking about. You know. Yeah, but you're right. Anyways, listen, it's good to see all of you. No, it's true. Jameson, your jacket.
Oh, yeah.
It's good to see all of you. Stay safe. And today's Wednesday, right? Yeah. So I'll see you next week, Monday. Oh, also, I should tell you that May 13th will be, I don't know when May 13th is, but it'll be our last physical day. We'll gather via Zoom after that. It'll only be a week, you know, so the semester ends on the 20th, I think.